Alrighty. Well, welcome to the visual cast. This is a very exciting moment for us all, yeah, this is it. We're here in the first live stream. We have some awesome people joining us here in the chat. I'm super excited that everybody managed to make it, this is going to be a really fun time. It's going to be, as interactive and immersive as we can make it. As you see, when you enter the chat, there's a little bit of a welcome. You can kind of control some icons that are shown on the screen. You'll see when we're in our normal configuration. And yeah, you can send like your favorite software and something will happen. You'll see when it comes in. Feel free to just do that whenever. It doesn't bother us. There's a poll on the top here to kind of focus us in a direction for the set. So definitely vote on that. I'm going to also open up the Q&A option here in YouTube in a moment after I introduce our guest. And I will share the VJ Loop pack with you in a moment as well. Yeah, let's bring in our guest here. It's super awesome to have friends in the scene that are also happen to be like extremely talented and extremely cool, but also extremely beautiful and nice human beings that also happen to be really good friends that really inspire and focus on wanting to make the scene better. And I really cherish this person, and I'm really excited that we are having him as the first guest for the monthly live stream. So welcome to the Visual Cast Live, Stephen McCory, aka Glass Crane.
Yo, what's good? Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm so happy you're here. I really could not have thought of a better person to do this first. You were actually the first person that I asked. I had a bunch of people under you, but you were like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. So I'm like, fuck yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, this is exciting. I dig the new format. It's very interactive and cool.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get even more fun. As we see when people join the stream for the first time, we get a little bit of a rainbow flicker, which is fun and cute. So hopefully that's working good. So first thing I'm going to do is share the link for the pack in the chat. Make sure to download that because we're going to turn off that link in, I don't know, at the end of the stream, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So definitely get that while it's hot. And I'm also going to open up the Q&A section, which basically is going to, I'm going to basically make a queue of questions that will accumulate as we keep on going, and we can kind of focus our attention to the Q&A as we continue going. The Q&A can be for both of us. Feel free to specify who you're asking a question to, or also don't ask me any questions. That's also fine. Whatever works. If you're not familiar with YouTube chat, there's like a little button on top that says live chat. If you click that, you can go into like the questions part, into the top chat, and the funding as well. So definitely be aware of that. And as I said, if you type in your favorite software, so mine is obviously the one that we're in right now. Well, actually, I have two favorite softwares, but this is just one of them. Then it
Notch,
should.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's Notch. How did you know? Who told you that?
I knew that.
I am noticing that it's not actually working, which is a bummer. Let me see why. It should send us. The fuck? Okay, well, first hiccup of the day. Not too bad. Let me actually restart this. Not the stream, but just this specific part. Cool. Just the chat part. Because I'm using like an API that sends the chats into Touch Designer and back and forth into Unreal. So there is sometimes some things that make it not work very well. Let's try this.
I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for you to talk about the tech that goes into this too while we're going along. As you fix things and noodle with it. Really freaking cool.
There you go. So that was one of my favorite ones. This is really my favorite one. And this is my ultimate favorite one. Okay, so yeah, that works. So yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff happening. Really, it comes down to Touch Designer as the brain. There is a big patch that kind of runs the whole system. And I can show that quickly before we jump into the actual cast. Let me just get that here. Let me get that here, and let's go into here. So we can kind of see, oh, wrong one. Oh, wrong one. This one. Okay, so we kind of see, what are we seeing? We're seeing this. I'm gonna have to obviously. Oh, that's fun. One second. Sorry. Where is it? Where is it? Where's my little blue button?
There it is. Oh.
You see it?
Thought I did.
I also thought I did. Where the fuck is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's a Touch Designer patch. We get like all the chat stuff comes in through this API, which is a really cool software called Social Stream Ninja, which is the same platform that I use for the actual chat between me and Steven, called Video Ninja. It's also free. They're both free. Video Ninja is kind of like a online, really awesome platform for doing streams, but like internal streams. And then they also have this Social Stream Ninja app, which basically takes all the chats from whatever you want, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, whatever, and kind of combines it into like one chat. I'm sure you've seen like some streamers, they use this kind of like overlay chat that kind of has like, all the chats coming into one place. Yeah, so that's kind of cool that is a thing. And that all comes into here. And then there's a bunch of WebSocket logic that gets sent into Unreal as OSC. And that's kind of the bare bones of it. There's also a nice WebSocket system that me and Steven have. So we have the ability to share signals back and forth. So like he can actually send me button presses from his house, from his computer into me. And that kind of, gets amalgamated into the system. So yeah, it's a pretty robust system. I'm noticing that the freaking, our software thing is not working again. I wonder why. There's been some issues with this API all day. So sorry about that. I don't see, that's not the issue. The issue is you have to type it like it's on the welcome message. I know this is kind of like version 1. So you have to use one of these ones, and now it's going to trigger all of them at once. But yeah, just be aware of that.
Oh,
okay,
cool.
so yeah, I mean, let's jump into kind of what we're all here for, which is, kind of Steven, of course. And oh, whoa, that's a big one. And I wanted to kind of just like, we've had an episode before. If you guys haven't seen it, then, definitely check it out. Not right now, obviously, but, when you have a chance, which kind of covers a lot of Steven's career and kind of, where he is at now and what he's actually currently doing. But I wanted to kind of, look at the most recent stuff that Steven's doing. And I think we'll start off with just kind of looking at your most recent Instagram and just kind of go through a little bit of, what's been new in the glass crane world. And, kind of just, last time we spoke, we had a really awesome conversation about a lot of different topics. I really cherished that conversation we had because it was like early on in the stream. And it really helped kind of like direct how I wanted to do things in the stream. And I think a lot of things that we talked about was like the VJ global kind of thing, like a career as a VJ. Like, what does that mean? How does that even look like? Yeah, I mean, you've just been kind of killing it recently. You've been doing some really awesome shows. Look at this awesome dome stuff. You had this big Spangle tour that you were on. Just give us a little bit of a rundown of like what it's like to kind of like be in this almost weekly kind of tour schedule, traveling a lot. Give us a little bit of a rundown.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been really too in depth. I wasn't on the whole Spangle tour, but I was definitely able to do a few dates. And then I'm doing Secret Dreams coming up as well. But yeah, I mean, at first it was kind of tiring because it was a bit of an adjustment. Doing a show once in a while to just kind of hammering them out. But it's been pretty fulfilling. It's been a lot of fun. I'm definitely learning a lot, especially working with Jonathan Singer a bunch. He's the GOAT, as we all are aware. But yeah, and Luan here, I got to work with him. Yeah, no, it's really great, and it gives me the opportunity to kind of flex tools like Notch because I don't have all the time in the world to make a bunch of new content. So being able to whip stuff out fast or on site oftentimes is really valuable and fun. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of watching you. I mean, I've been watching you grow for forever. I think since we've been friends, but just kind of watching you in your, I would say like your second, career. When you're like kind of now like a fully fledged VJ. You have such an awesome show going on, and it's just been great to kind of watch you in that space and grow with it. You're also, I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, but you're also kind of a very big proponent of the VJ culture and the VJ scene, and your new collective, Ether Immersive, is something that I think a lot of us are really excited about and really interested to hear more about. So just give us a little bit of a rundown of what that is and what it's going to look like.
Yeah, totally. Well, we're still kind of in the phase of getting things together, getting our ideas organized, but essentially it's going to be a label where we're gonna try to get everyone's rates kind of up where they need to be, to the point where essentially everyone on our label is going to have their rate that they want, and whatever show that they pitch for, if they don't receive it, the goal is for us to be able to have the funding to be able to essentially make up the difference between that and pay people their fair rate, in return for different concessions from the promoter. And I'll probably have to get into that more later. Me and the other founder, my business partner Derek Plans, awesome dude, one of my very best friends. We just have a little bit more to hash out, but it's kind of introductory, but it is coming, and details should be coming soon about that. And if you're a VJ, you might get a knock for sure.
Yeah, I think that these things are, pretty important in the scene nowadays. There's like kind of a big shift happening when it is I didn't take this off, sorry. There's a big shift happening when it comes to, oh, my pants are here too. Nice. So all my clothes.
Sick.
Um,
Laundry day.
laundry day.
How,
Throw it
how
right on
much
the
do you have
floor.
back there? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, how much clothes? Like, um, uh, I was to say, the scene is in a really interesting place because there's so much interest in visuals, but there isn't much like structure. And it's kind of been like this for a long time, where the interest has been growing and growing and growing, and the structure has been somebody tries something like this, somebody tries something like this. Newer VJs come in with newer ideas. Some people come in with conflicting ideas. There's no kind of direct, quote unquote, way to become a VJ, and the people that have made those paths do it in a very like subjective way. Subjective is not the right, like in a very like, this is what worked for me, maybe it will work for you.
Right.
And I think it's really important, especially when we're talking about like education for new VJs and education for promoters and for people that are hiring the VJs, to have almost like a structured, succinct system. It's not necessarily with money per se, but it's just like of like, how do you book a VJ? What are the requirements? What are the norms for a booking? Everybody has their own thing. Whereas like in the music world, there's like a baseline, right? Where obviously there's different levels as you go up in the chain, but there's like a baseline of like what's required, what's needed. Um, and I think that the more and more collectives and the more and more quote unquote agent or booking kind of agencies that open up with people that have experience like yourself, it's gonna make the scene way more powerful, and just better, really. So that's really exciting. um,
Yeah,
and
that's another thing we would focus on with Ether too. Is I mean, throughout the like greater production circuit, a lot of this stuff is handled, but when it comes to the kind of more artist on the flyer, represented VJs, there's not a whole lot that's industry standard right now when it comes to contracts, when it comes to
yeah,
licensing agreements, that kind of thing. That's
yeah,
all stuff that I've built for myself. That would be, I try to share to everyone I can, but I think if we can kind of get as many of us as we can under some sort of umbrella, it might be a good thing. It's almost like a union, so to speak.
yeah. It's like a union. I think that that's the
Yeah.
right way to put it. And it's like, sharing data, like sharing information is obviously really important. That's like why I do this podcast. But there's something different when you send your friend like, here's what I use for a contract, or this is what I usually charge, versus like the full like path of like, what is what is your rate, what do you normally charge, what do you normally like, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna get that for you. You know what I mean? And then like, okay, maybe they don't even know what that is, and then you can kind of like steer them and help them. um, I just feel like that's something that's really missing in the VJ world, and there's like very minimal amounts of agents. I know that
Yeah.
you obviously have one, and I know David has one, but that's really the only people that I know that have agents, and I know a lot of VJs.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of an interesting time where it's almost ripe for the picking. But it's like,
Yeah,
how do you want to pick it?
right. And I feel like a lot of people don't have them because a lot of VJs who are either career VJs or whatever, are more like on the production side, where there's tour managers for everything that are handling these things. But when it comes to the individual artist who's trying to get this done while also trying to keep up with content and all that, it's a little bit different. Like with a regular, I guess, sort of VJ who is given the content to play for the shows and stuff like that, there's a little bit less to worry about.
For
But they're
sure.
definitely busier though too. Those guys are on the road and pretty much never home. So yeah, it's, I guess, just a difference. It's a difference. I call it the, like, DJ versus producer kind of difference in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
The DJ versus producer, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like, I guess we kind of have that in our world, right? Like it's maybe like
Totally. Yeah.
the actual,
Well,
because there's still an
most
operator.
producers still DJ too. So
Right, right, right. I think but then the VJ world, it's more like, are you making the content, or are you providing the content? Maybe that's a little bit reductive, but like, it's like, because it doesn't matter if I'm going to play with my own content or somebody else's, I'm still a
totally.
VJ, right? But am I
Yeah.
just making visuals for somebody else, and not VJing?
Right.
I think I saw.
Yeah, like a good distinction would be like, is your presence as a VJ there contributing possibly to ticket sales? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
that's a really good way of
Um,
putting it. Yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah,
good way
yeah.
of thinking about it.
Right,
That's the
right.
way I've always thought about it, and it seemed, you know, all roads kind of lead back there. You know, if a VJ is able to make a name for themselves, and you know they're on the flyer, people are stoked about them. There's comments, you know, for the event. Oh, I'm stoked to see this. You know, I see it all the time,
Yeah.
and you know the pay and the treatment doesn't always reflect that. You know, and there's a lot of, you know, we've talked about before. You know, there's some awesome promoters out there. I've been lucky enough to work with a bunch of them, and you know I'll make those pretty widely available as well. You know, anytime someone needs someone dope to work with, I can usually point them in the right direction, especially on the East Coast, because I do that a lot. But yeah, no, it's a good distinction.
Yeah, it's a good distinction for sure. Maybe even just to maybe soften it a little bit, because maybe like can you sell tickets is like a little bit um, you know, like there's like a little bit of a you know, how many Instagram followers do you have? Maybe I'm just starting out, but can you produce a show that is a wow factor? Is it at the
Right.
level
Yeah, like
that
that.
people
I
are
don't
going to
mean like
want to
do they
come to see it?
actually. Right. I don't mean do they actually sell tickets, but like is
I
the
know what you mean.
in the promotion of that show, is that
Right.
promoter using your name, likeness, artwork as a way of adding value to
Yes.
to that show. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Because if you go to EDC, like you look at EDC, all those massive artists, not a single one mentions any VJ, any production. No, none of those people are on the flyer. You know what I mean? Which I get it. It is what it is. But the, you know, I'm talking about for the VJs where it's like we do a promo with a teaser with the artist, and the artist and is sharing each other back and forth, and you know the promoter's like, spotlight, here's this VJ, they're coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference there, I think, which I'm
Yeah, I
cool with.
think so. And I think it's also like, you know, it's going to depend on the market, right? Like EDC is one type of market. The bass scene is going to be a different type. You could even have rock shows and concerts. Festival circuit is a different.
Hmm.
I think that there's like it's so much. There's so much. Like we've spoken about it offline a bunch of times, and every time we speak about it, it's like overwhelming almost, because it's like, how do you go this direction? How do you go this direction? So, you know, I believe that you'll be able to curate and focus your energy on what you've learned within your experience of time in the scene, and be able to apply that to like a beginning of like a um, structured system for VJs. And then as time goes on, you know, as you kind of peek into different markets and things like that, you can kind of grow on it and like, okay, is this, what are we offering for this? What are we offering for this? And then it goes
Right.
backwards to the VJs of like the education aspect that is so important of like, okay, when you go to a festival, make sure you ask for A, B, and C, and D. When you go to a rock show, make sure you ask for A, B, and C. Are you going, you know, all the things that are involved in there, um,
Right.
which is like an endless kind of like topic. Um, well, very exciting. I want to ask you one
Totally.
more question before we jump into like a Q&A session here. But first, I just want to share this link for Mantis Smash Music, which is our favorite musician here at the Visual Cast. We don't listen to any other music. And definitely check out his music. It's really fucking awesome. And there's a new album that just came out, Memory Trails, which was playing here before. So I just want to mention that. Um, you've been doing some super cool stuff in an immersive space, maybe an immersive room called Antic Studios. See if I can pull it up here. Um, and you know, it's very impressive to say the least. You know, it's like kind of this very big space. Let's see if I can find it here. Uh, where would I be looking for it? Anticstudios.com,
I don't think we have
or
any of
like
that stuff on Facebook yet.
like the room stuff.
I think I just sent you on Facebook.
Okay,
Yeah.
can play that.
You could,
But
yeah,
yeah, I
check
mean
that.
it's a oh, I don't see it. Nah, whatever. Doesn't matter. We can just talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just talk
So
about it. Like, yeah,
tell me about it.
totally. So yeah, I work as a animation director for Antic Studios. They're out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right next to Minneapolis. And essentially, what I've been working on there is this huge. It's like a 40,000 square foot, 360 mapped projection venue. It's like a big warehouse called Royalston Square, and you know, architect, he's been working with me as well,
Shout
and
out.
we created, we shouts to the man. um we've been creating this like super huge content package for this, so it's like, you know, 30,000 resolution, 30K resolution, all the way around 360. So we made this huge content pack for them, and then, you know, they've been kind of bringing in a lot of different clients to like throw, whether it's like fundraisers, galas. Red Bull did their international breakdancing competition there.
Nice.
Looks like I lost cams. I'll fix that in a minute. Yeah, Red Bull did their breakdancing competition there, and you know, so I was able to get like the Connect sensor on the breakdancers and stuff like that. You know, brought in his iMag to the walls, and then like Ferrari released a car there a few weeks back, so we did some production for that as well. But yeah, no, it's been really fun, really challenging, that's for sure.
Really challenging, huh? I mean, like the difference between you know, VJing and the commercial world is one of those things that nobody ever realizes until it's too late. You know,
Right.
and especially when it's like you're dealing with such a big raster and such a big pixel map, so many pixels being pushed. You know, you're trying to get it all in real time as well, so it's like such a huge challenge. And then, what's it been like to, like, you know, have this experience with these commercial clients where you're not being approached as Stephen McCrory, Glass Crane, the artist. You're kind of being, or at least as far as I know, you're being approached as, like, you know, the operator or the, you know, officer or whatever, manager of the space. It must be like a totally different kind of experience that's different than what you're used to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. I mean, obviously a little drier, especially if it's like a corporate client or whatever. But it's been an adjustment for sure. I've learned a lot, continuing to learn a lot. Yeah, no, it's definitely weirder than just, you know, talking to promoters or talking to individual artists,
Yeah.
and kind of, you know, figuring out what they want. Whereas with these commercial clients, it's a little bit more difficult because they're not quite as knowledgeable about the artistic end of it. They just kind of know what they want to see, and, you know, just gotta flex my brief interpreting muscles.
Your brief
Yeah,
interpreting muscles of being able to
yeah.
decipher some
Yeah,
some
you gotta work
suits
those out.
idea.
Yeah,
um,
totally.
that's awesome. Uh, oh, Dakota says he lives in Wisconsin. He wants to visit, so definitely, yeah, definitely visit next time you're there. It's
Yeah,
in
nice.
Wisconsin, the spot.
So it's in Minneapolis, but I mean, I'm sure you're probably pretty close. If you want to shoot me a message on Instagram, if you want to visit the space,
Hell yeah.
next time we have more of like a kind of show oriented kind of fun thing instead of like, you know, a fundraiser for a sheriff or something like that. You know, we could totally get you in there.
That's awesome. Look at that.
Yeah.
Making connections.
Making
Shout out Smudge, yeah, for sure. Shout out Smudge, but on the visual cast,
connections.
we only listen to Mantis Smash, so there's only one person to shout out here. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think I want to move on to a Q&A. I see that there hasn't really been many questions asked. So if you are not using that Q&A system in the YouTube, which is totally fine, just write questions here on the chat, and we can pass them along. Dakota is saying that if he hits you up on Instagram, he goes by
Yeah.
Sayonara.
So you're aware I got the chat here too. Right in
Perfect.
front of
Oh
me.
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Got the big spread going.
So Q&A. I'll start off. What's with the rainbows, bro?
I mean, it's the best color palette, you know.
It's the best color palette.
The best color palette.
I mean, it's the whole color palette, though.
It enables me to not fuck up any of my color palettes because I just use all. It's great. It's like, it's the same reason I wear like all black clothing. You just reach blindly into the closet, you know.
Totally. Yeah, just like easy. Just like it's always gonna look good. You're always gonna look fly. I love that.
It's party mode 100% of the time.
It's party mode. Does it ever? Is it ever? It's actually, you know, I would actually argue that it's almost harder to match the colors of the rainbow to something else. You know what I mean? Because it's like, You know, it's one of those things that when you have so much of something, it's harder to like wrangle
Yeah,
it in. You know what I mean?
totally. What I've been doing, when I first kind of started doing a lot of rainbow stuff, it was pretty much just bleeding eyeballs all the time. But since then, I have a variety of different like color pass techniques and things that I use, and I actually do have a ton of non-rainbow content as well. So
Sure.
it ends up working out. But yeah, no, I always try to all of my sets at least sneak in a few if I can.
I think I mean I love rainbow. We've spoken about this I think as well, but like I like to use it as like a moment, you know, where it's like you have a normal color palette or like whatever, just a normal lighting kind of scenario, and then you know that's like a moment where whether it's the music or in the vibe that you just go to rainbow all of a sudden.
Right.
Um, I've never used it as like a design element per se,
Mm.
like you know I've always been a little bit scared of it, I guess, because it's so colorful.
Right.
um, but you are like the master of it, really, when it comes to being able to make it feel natural or make it feel like muted in some way. You know,
Oh man, I gotta give that to you on. That dude's a beast with the rainbow.
definitely, he's the beast. Definitely,
He's,
definitely, definitely, definitely.
he's the rainbow god, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. That's a really good one. But
Yep, yep.
to be fair, Uwan's not really like VJing or like doing live stuff. You know what I mean? So
Right,
there
right,
is a
right.
little bit of a thing there. So,
Totally.
um, yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, anybody got any more questions for the glass crane here? Feel free to ask on the chat or in the Q&A section. Um, I have another question that I want to ask you about um, your your well, I guess you can't really talk about it so much, so never mind. I won't ask you about that. Um,
Okay.
what's it been like working with Spangel? You know, just kind of a recent kind of thing when it comes
Awesome.
to
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah, no, Spangel's the best. I love their team. Um,
nice,
and obviously working with singers, amazing. But yeah, no, Simon even gave all the VJs a shout out. Last
hell
couple
yeah,
shows we were playing with him, and is just super sweet guy, awesome musician, endlessly talented, and yeah, just a great team to work with. Everyone's super professional, and got their shit together and everything. All the shows have been really great. And then recently working with Detox Unit, that's always a pleasure as well. Um, with like Noah and Joe and all them. Yeah, it's
nice.
just a blast. I feel very blessed for the people that I get to work with and surround myself with, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you're very lucky in that sense that you get to be part of those teams for sure. I mean, not lucky, like you're, you know, well deserved for sure. I have a
Well,
funny
thanks.
Simon Posford story. It's not really about Simon Posford, but I made this
Mm,
movie like I don't know, like almost 10 years ago actually. It was like my thesis film for school, and it was about like a psytrance producer
mhm.
bringing who brought in like a international artist to Israel for like a party, and on the way to the party they get lost and like a whole shenanigans and whatever. It's like a coming of age kind of story, and the DJ was like a British, like older kind of gentleman, and the idea was that he was called LS Queen because he's British,
Yeah,
you know, it's like LS
rad.
Queen,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I based the character around stories that I had heard of Simon Bosford. And you'd have to see the movie because I'm not gonna obviously give it away, but like you know his whole demeanor and character is like this kind of like super aloof, drug riddled kind of dude. And from then till now, I've heard more stories about Simon Posfer that say the opposite of the person, and I always felt like really bad about it that like I built this character around this person from like the one story that I heard, you know, when I was like, you know, young and in the scene, and like made him into this like super negative character. So I just
Yep.
thought that was funny.
Ah, that's
But
awesome.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got a question here. So I'm just from Festival Shark Cam. So I'm just starting my VJ journey. I go by. Let me make this bigger because I'm super blind.
Diff
I
diff
go
dot
by
rx.
I go by diff.rxn. Most likely going to be performing at Resonate next year. Amazing. How do you
Oh, nice.
handle intrinsic motivation? Would you say you're mostly intrinsic? It's a great
Me?
question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, there's always that question of, like imposter syndrome, and do you really, you know, feel like you deserve to be there? Um, and I would say my advice would just be to, not really worry about that. Worry about the art. If you're performing there, then you're meant to be there, and you're going to be among other
Mm.
people who are meant to be there as well. You know, yeah, just focus on the art, man. I would say you're there, you're booked, and yeah, everything kind of sails from there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Diffraction, it's pronounced. Cool.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I cannot read. Um, yeah, it's like I think it's like borderline. What is that term? Imposter syndrome, maybe of some sort. Like not necessarily diagnosing you or anything like that. Just saying like I think sometimes being unmotivated, especially when you have like all the things that are backing you up, like you got a gig, you're gonna play at this big festival, like being unmotivated when you're in that space to me is like you're not sure that you like Steven's saying like you
Mhm.
gotta just focus on the fact that you got it and that you have this opportunity an option and that if somebody
Yeah,
is
and
bringing you to this place then that's means something.
totally. And your job is to make those producers look awesome and make their show awesome, and also to showcase your artwork too. You know, so just remember that. Just get excited about that and bring your A game as often as you can. Don't worry about if you fuck up, because you're gonna fuck up a lot. I
Yeah,
still fuck up pre-show.
I
JD from
never
Antic
fucked
has
up
my
before
favorite quote
ever.
ever. He's like, my favorite quote from JD is, "I fucked up way bigger shows than this before." It's like
That's a good one.
rings true. It rings true. Yeah, you can't
That
worry.
that makes you like not like a curdle under the table,
Totally.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Oh, to start on the artwork. So he's saying, yeah, for me, it's definitely about trying to start on the artwork. Yeah, I mean, so like one thing, like the writer's block kind of aspect. Um, I found that use a program that you're quick with,
Mm,
so that you can iterate quickly. So when I don't know what to make necessarily, I'll open up Notch or whatever, and just start with basic shapes. Yep. Wait, hold on. Let me hit this button. I've been dying. There we go. Yeah, just open up something, start messing with cloners and particles and different tools in your tool belt that you've learned, and just let that kind of design experience take you, because you don't necessarily have to um, have it all figured out when you're going into it. Just sit with it and work at it.
yeah,
And it's just that it'll reveal itself the more you kind of play with it, because the more time, especially if you don't know the program super well, right? You'll stumble across something that will potentially give you an idea moving forward. So just kind of starting with a blank canvas, it can be scary, but I wouldn't put too much importance on it.
Steven, do you like have spots that you go to either physically, mentally, whatever that trigger or like fire start or kickstart like some ideas or inspiration, or is it for you? It's like I'm sitting down now, I'm gonna get into it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I watch a ton of tutorials. I'm in like a constant state of trying to learn Touch Designer and Unreal, like the things that I don't know very well. Also, Notch, whenever I can find new tutorials on that. There's not a whole lot, but hopefully more coming. But yeah, no, it's like I feel like once I see the possibility in one of the programs I use, once I see the possibility for a new technique or something like that, the first thing I want to do is just mess with it. And
Yeah,
in messing
yeah,
with it, usually you can kind of rely on some of the either assets or lore that you've kind of built up already in your artwork, and you can find a way to kind of integrate that into something new.
totally. Um, yeah, we're getting another one saying that he literally that I have visuals I literally see when I close my eyes. It's just about translating them into the program. I'm definitely trying to just immerse in the program. It's like it's one of those things. It's like I don't know how it is for painters. I've never been a painter, but I would imagine that like you have this idea and you can see it, and then as good as you are with a paintbrush is going to be as good as you're going to be able to translate that image into a piece of paper, right? So when it comes to software, especially when we're in like the 3D world, there's so many different aspects of things that you can do to bring out your idea. I think like what Steven said is like find a software that you're really fast at. So it could be any software really. There's no like one software to rule them all. Find the one that like motivates you, is fun. Find the one that really makes you
take that button away from me.
yeah. Find the one that really makes you excited. You know, like I remember when I first got into Notch, which is awesome. I love Notch. It's the best. Peace and love. I really like found myself just being immersed like all day, every day, sitting at the computer and like being excited by what's new, being excited what I can do. And then like it's almost like I didn't even think about the visuals that I saw in my head. I put those aside for a second and focused on like what can I do now? Like what is fast? What tutorial can I follow? What thing?
Right.
And then as you start getting into like the language of the software, then you can start translating your ideas into things. I think that really helped me. You know what I mean? Like, because as visual people, as visual artists, as creatives, there's so many ideas running around in your head, and because like it's not just taking a pen or a paintbrush and drawing on a piece of paper, which maybe would be easier to like, you know, express yourself on a like a physical plane, because there's such a learning curve and the softwares and you have to do lighting and this and that and this and that. It's almost like learn how to use the software really fast and succinct so that when you're ready to take your vision onto the quote unquote page, you're not like spending time jumping back and forth between learning things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. And that's why like even, you know, I started out in Cinema 4D and Octane, you know, which is kind of a relatively slow process, obviously in the rendering as well. But that's why I'm a huge proponent of, no matter who you are as a VJ or content creator, I always recommend at least trying to dip your toes into real time. If not for your final product, but just for ideation, you know. That's like kind of what I've always thought about programs like Notch, Touch Designer. It's, you know, it's creation at the speed of thought once you kind of get that muscle memory down, and once you really start to get a flow in those programs. And what that can help you do is, you know, you see that vision in your head, you can get that out faster, whether it, you know, it might not be completely path traced and, you know, with 40,000 bounces or whatever the heck, but you know, it's a way to get ideas out and down. And then the better you get at the real-time programs, I think, you know, a lot of people like myself have found that, you know, we can often final product, you know, with that program, just because, you know, once you become accustomed to the lighting and the materials and how things work, you know, it kind of carves a new way for you in your current artistic style. You know, like I had to change my style quite a bit moving from Cinema 4D Octane, which I still use all the time, by the way, but it's just, you know, when it comes to what I need to do for a living and for, you know, for work and for how quickly I need to bust out a lot of these content projects for artists or whatever, you know, I don't see myself ever going back from real time as my main tool, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's like the hot topic of discussion is always like, you know, real time versus rendered. And I think there's like you know, the more I do the visual cast, the more I see like different opinions on it. And like there's so many people that like just recently I had Erica Anderson, I think I want to say, she's awesome, and she's like a massive After Effects guru. You know, she's like a real After Effects witch. And it was so interesting watching her work, because the way that she works, she's like using After Effects as a real-time tool for like exploratory and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, obviously the output isn't real time, but the way she's like playing with things and going through things, it was so cool to see like the same part of the brain that you're using when you're exploring the real time world. And I think that the tools are just going to kind of converge into like the same thing, right? Where it's like Cinema 4D, Blender, all these things are all real time anyways, and you're just like creating at the speed of thought in that sense.
No, it's, and that, don't get me wrong too, like I'm a huge shill for real time, but ultimately, like, take a guy like Architect, John's the fucking boy, and he is so quick in Cinema 4D. He uses it like real time, you know,
right?
And then
right.
queues up all his renders, goes to sleep, wakes up, they're all done, you know. So it's I don't ever want to discourage anyone from, you know, the blender or cinema or whatever they're using, because, you know, ultimately it's just going to be about where you're most comfortable, like how you can find that flow, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where you can find it for sure.
Totally.
We got another question. Wait, so how much of that recent set was real time? Like, did you manage the extrusion pulls from the alligator live?
So I think the alligator, that was a Singer clip, or well, it's maybe a Droid clip, that, but Singer dropped that one, so I didn't do that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also we have to remember that like there's a difference between, well, not a difference, but there should be a distinction, like what is real time, especially when you're VJing, because technically even people that are using Resolume and loops are technically in real time. Now it's not maybe
Yeah.
like what we're
Totally.
talking about when we say real time 3D or something like that, but there's still, you know, triggering effects, triggering layers, blending. All of those things are a live aspect of a show, and they're going to be different every time. You know, especially if they're really good. Um, you know, and there's no like, you know, you can mix all those things together. And some people like myself are much more, you know, strict, or what's the word I'm looking for, but like much more like you know, not strict, like like a you know, I only do real time. I don't have any loops in my sets, and that, you
Right.
know, there is something that hinders me on that, but there's also something that frees me on that. It's like a choice, you know. Um, then there are people that don't use anything real time and they're all in Resolume, you know, and you know they're using, maybe now they're getting into Wire or something like that. Um, just like an interesting thing that I was thinking about recently, like Tass, the goat, you know, he does all loops, right? But recently, maybe like in the past year or two, he started developing some patches in Max MSP to do like automation for his effects. So like he's not
Yep.
generating content in real time, but he's creating real time patches that will do like automation or generative kind of aspects for his loops, which is like, that's so awesome. You know, like that's kind of
Yep.
like a really nice way to kind of ingest the aspects and cool stuff of real time into
Mm.
into that world.
Let me plug him real quick too. Tess has a Patreon where
Yes, thank you.
he's actually providing his entire show file for Tipper and Friends. So I was able to kind of poke around in there, which, you know, he is the goat, truly. That's an amazing composition. So I would, if you feel inspired by Tess, I would say definitely maybe help him out with a couple of dollars and get yourself some really cool knowledge from that composition, because it is expansive and incredible.
Yeah, it's like a no brainer if that's the things that you are in. You know, if you're in a Resolume workflow or stuff like that, it's a no brainer really.
Yeah, totally.
Um, all right, I think we should jump into the set portion. And So the poll, people, we got 67% for Notch MoGraph. Nobody cares about your Notch Connect, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a light shift patch I'm running right now. By the way, shouts to the boy.
nice,
But
nice,
yep,
hell yeah.
no iMag for you guys. Straight MoGraph. We're doing
I'm a.
No iMag.
it.
Um, so okay, so let's do straight MoGraph. Who doesn't like MoGraph, anyways? And you know, we'll kind of settle into it, and maybe as we get deeper into it, we can shift to something else if that's
Yeah,
interesting.
and I would say too, you know, if you voted for MoGraph, I don't this was like a blind poll here, so I don't necessarily have anything prepared. So, you know, feel free to chime in and ask questions like, what do you want to see? Is there anything specific? Program I'm going to be using is Notch, so, you know, we can go about this quite a few ways. You know, I can kind of take you through a couple different patches and stuff that I have, or, you know, I can make something like, what are you guys looking for?
Yeah, I mean, feel free to just keep on chatting on the chat, and also if questions come up, just keep on writing them, and we'll bank them here. Um, so I guess I will switch over to Steven's screen here, and let's see what we got.
Yeah. So
Take a big swig.
yeah, right. Gatorade, baby. So this is mostly an iMag composition, but I think I have a couple cool things in here. Still camera based, but some MoGraph elements for sure. Um, Wait, hold on. Let me. Gotta do the old reset the camera thing. Give a second. All right. So what we have here is, we have some cloner stuff, and then a little bit of camera interaction. So I'm using a face tracker here.
Nice.
Yep, I'm using a face tracker. This is just a couple VFX block things. I at one point was going to turn this into a block that I was going to use. But basically what I'm doing is taking these different like head rotations, and it's called an
Sorry,
extractor.
Steven, can you make the node graph bigger so we can see a little bit more, please?
So basically what I'm doing here is taking this face tracker. You can see it looks super silly, but basically what Notch is doing is just tracking my face. And what I can do with these extractors is basically, go through the source envelope, and I can pick a different thing. So like chin position, face rotation, bank, heading, pitch. Think of these as like little controllers, right? And I'm using these controllers to manipulate this sphere, which is moving around. See it in the box there. Now that sphere is invisible, but that sphere is being used as a target for this cloner system. So basically, all these kind of cameras here. I think we go into inspector. So here's like the camera element, and basically, I think I got this off like Sketchfab or something, and brought it into Cinema, chunked it all out, collapsed it, and just gave it a couple different materials. Just base materials so that Notch would recognize them. And then just brought them into Notch. And if you know anything about MoGraph, a lot of what we do is with like clones and fields. This target effector here is essentially like a big field. Currently an infinite one, but if you see the let me see I'll zoom out here, but you see this circle surrounding. So, as I'm rotating around, this target effector is basically focusing these clones on that sphere that's moving. And then that allows me to move that light around. So you see that light, I'm just moving it around with my head. So that's kind of a cool little MoGraph-ish camera hybrid. I have one more of those here. Let's cue this one up.
Oh yeah.
So,
let's go.
Yeah. So just this one utilizes my favorite deformer ever. Many of them, in fact, it's the color ramp deformer. And what this does is basically takes, any piece of geometry and splits it up into all of its island, like polygon island parts. And then you can do things like sequence gradients through it. So you see how it's black there and then red there, and it's basically being driven by this gradient here. And then the whole thing I'm actually able to control with head tilt, which is actually super dope live, because I usually perform with like a little like one of these guys. It's like a little you could kind of see my camera in there, but it's like a little booklight that just kind of illuminates my face while I'm VJing. Spangle Tour, this is the first time I unveiled this kind of functionality, but it's actually super nice, because before I was using like a mouse picker or something to rotate these scenes around, but with enough smoothing and just a little bit of neck control here, you just use your head to do it.
So
and like if I look straight up, it's gonna split that apart.
Oh shit!
Which I can still kind of rotate, and then look down to reset it.
It's so interesting because I never, like having the ability of generative and like, everything's real time and everything like that. Being able to use different aspects of like, your camera tracking, your mouse picker, all those kind of things. I never like thought of using like even like the most simple thing, like a game controller, like it's so easy to connect to Notch and to Unreal. I never like really thought of using them because I just like kind of like my MIDI controller. But whenever I see like people using it like the way that you're using it here, and like some people use Xbox controllers, I'm always like, oh, that's such a more fun way to kind of play with things. You know, it's just
Totally.
so crazy. There's so many different ways to do things. I just love it.
Yeah, and like it all comes down to, what works best for you. Oftentimes I get kind of bored just using a MIDI controller. I like, the technology's here to kind of do some cool stuff. So
Right.
I'm super interested in just trying to figure out different cool ways to use things. I've done the Xbox controller thing. When I use Tool 3 Live, I definitely use the Xbox controller, which is it's really fun. It's just like you're sitting there at front of house playing a video game,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah,
that's why I kind of stayed away from it, because it made me feel like I was playing a video game, and I wanted to be
right.
a little bit more like I'm doing art. I don't know, like that's kind of like pretentious, but I mean it like in a way of like my focus wasn't in the right place, you know. But
Right,
anyway,
right, right, right.
Mind Balloon is saying that he needs to learn Notch, and I think we can all agree that that would probably be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been following you for. I think I started following you a few weeks or a couple months or so ago. Love your stuff.
yeah,
Awesome,
it's the shit.
awesome. You would be completely overpowered with Notch,
You would be like, it would
especially
be
with Touch
illegal.
Designer too. Yeah,
It
that's
would be
definitely
illegal,
illegal.
bro. It would be illegal. Like if you took all your geometry node stuff from Blender and put it into Notch, that would be illegal. Like full on. You'd be arrested right
Oh,
away.
your Blender? I thought it was Touch Designer.
He's all in Blender. No, dude, he's all in Blender, bro. He's all in
Damn,
Blender. He's like
crazy.
a node genius in Blender.
Yeah, I'll say that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, feel free to hit me up too, man. We can jump on Discord. I can crash course you. I'm on Discord pretty much all the time, like all day, almost every day. I'm always on there kicking it with John and Papa Bear and Type N and all those guys, Graham, Nitrogen. But yeah, come hang out. We're always just kind of trading tips and dicking around, and it's a lot of fun. So
We have another question, but let's hold it
yeah,
until
shoot.
the segment. So keep on going for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't have a whole lot prepared here, but here's like another kind of MoGraphy scene. This is I've been kind of making the switch to Notch 1.0 lately, begrudgingly, but now I'm starting to kind of see the worth here. There's a lot of really cool tools, like for example, um, this is a just a plane that I just kind of smattered some glyphs all over, and then there's this Greeble node where it just instantly kind of super subdivides your mesh, and then you can use a weight map
There's a
to
Greeble node. That's crazy.
yeah, it's
They just
cracked.
added that. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's cracked. Like here, I'll show you like basically how it looks. So say you add a sphere. We get a light in here. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
So this
Interesting.
Greeble node, you know, you can control it. Basically, it like gives you like a Q mesh extension of
Right.
all of your polygons. So like, as far as like how to split this sphere up, Notch probably isn't the best tool to do that. I mean, you could do like a Voronoi fracture in here and probably get some cool shapes. But ultimately, what I usually end up doing is just I'll make a simple shape in Cinema with some really cool kind of geometry, really cool polygon layouts, and then I'll bring it in and greeble it. Um, like so, you can do like multiple iterations. So like I'll hit 2. Let's go to 3, and then when you offset that, you have this kind of infinite geo.
I feel like wasn't there a wasn't there a
AO
node
in
like
here.
this before? I can't remember. Like it was like a I guess it wasn't like this exactly, but there was like a subdivide faces kind of thing. But this is much cooler.
Yeah, it was. Well, the one
What is
I'm
it? It was like
familiar with is Subdivider in Cinema.
no,
I
no.
mean,
In
it's
Notch, there was like a deformer that was like that would break off your faces, but also like you know do
oh yeah,
some shape in that break off.
yeah.
It's like I think it was
Split.
subdivide deformer,
I think it was
split
Polygon
deformer.
or
Yeah, that's what it is.
Split
Yeah,
before. Yeah, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. This is
Yeah,
much cooler though.
separate faces with like a split. But this is like that all in one.
Super
It's
cool.
super fleshed out. It works really well. It's like astoundingly powerful.
Nice.
Um, yeah, and like another. Oh, here's something I can show you guys. So I was just showing some homies this on Discord, but Notch has this new really cool procedural ray tracer. Um, and basically, it's like booleans on steroids, right? So if you're familiar with like cinema, it would be like volume builder, volume mesher kind of equivalent. Um, but also, if you're familiar with Touch Designer, it's pretty much like a sort of Ray TK,
Yeah,
where it's like an
Ray Marched.
SDF. Yeah, like a Ray March thing. So plop like a fractal in here, and
Nice.
it's really really cool, really sharp.
Fast.
Like yeah, fast, sharp. Here's a really cool one.
Oh,
Switching the patches necessarily isn't the fastest, but
nice.
yeah. Let me make this black so you can see it. Yeah,
Nice.
no, it's really sharp. And recently they've added, for the CSG modes, which is like the kind of the blending of the goopy objects together. They added like stair union and a bunch of different things that.
I wonder who asked for that.
Yeah, I had to do it to him. Well, I had to get Jesse on Notch. I had to get Papa Bear on Notch. So
Right, that's the only way it was gonna come on.
there's only one way to do it. Just freaking trying to get Notch to make all the tools necessary.
That's so funny.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I think. What are you doing? Oh yeah, there's
Nice.
another one I was just working on today, right before.
Super nice.
Yeah, just little particles with a little bit of particles with some attractors. I have like a mesh attractor with a sphere in the middle. You like look around, you can see what's going on there. So basically, it's grabbing all these particles and just kind of keeping them there. And then there's like a vortex effector going on that's spinning the whole thing around. But yeah, I guess when you guys say you want to see some MoGraph, what other stuff are you looking for? You want to see like cloner stuff, or feel free to jump in on the chat and let me know what kind of stuff you're into.
I think we could be cool to see some cloner stuff. Maybe just like some classic, plain, deformer or whatever. Some plain clones with, do your thing. But like, yeah, just some cloners. Maybe just start from start to finish, kind of like classic effectors kind of thing.
Yeah, so we could do like let's do like a grid cloner. So there's a lot of different cloners here. If we do like all these in green here are all cloners. So there's like grids, images, iterative, linear, mesh, particle, procedural, radial, random, splines, volumes, and then simple cloner. Let's do like grid cloner for now, just to kind of show you how it works.
Sorry, Steven, I have two questions for you that I think are irrelevant. One was from our friend Festival Shark Camp. Anything really good for tracking hands, fingers? I was looking at Rococo Smart Gloves. I'm a glover, so I'd love to find something that I can control parameters with my fingertips. That's a great question. Have you ever heard of Leap Motion? Leap Motion is $60. It's like almost 20 years old at this point, but it's one of the best, if not the best, infrared hand tracking devices. I would definitely start there before getting gloves.
Yeah. Leap Motion and also Media Pipe, man.
Media Pipe you could do for free. If you've seen Media Pipe is free. There's some amazing examples of of Media Pipe being used for like gestures and things like that. I'll link it as in now as well. You do have to use Touch Designer, but Touch Designer is the best thing ever, so why wouldn't you want to use it? And then we have another question from Taolin, the OG Taolin, the beautiful Taolin. Did you run Notch live during shows, or do you run live Notch during shows? If so, how do you switch patches? Is that happening in Resolume?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it. I'll tell you how I do it currently, which is a bit jank, but there's a reason for it. So a lot of the recommended way to use Notch Live is with standalone executable.
Boo.
And I mean I do that a lot. I definitely do. But when it comes to like the longer sets, or the like, for example, like a couple of dates of the Spangle tour, I was doing like 5-6 sets pretty much in a row. And when I do that, I really like to have like, control and the ability to pivot on the fly. Um, Honestly, you could do that with standalone too. You just have to kind of give yourself a lot of exposed parameters and try, have the time to think ahead and do that. But usually, what I do is I'll run Builder on one. I have two laptops, so I would run Builder on one laptop, Notch Builder, and I would NDI that into Resolume. So, in Resolume, I have, a huge library of VJ clips, whether it's ones that I've made from the homies or whatever, and I kind of just do back and forth. So, I'll drop a Resolume clip, and then I'll be queuing up, a notch patch that I want to get ready. And once that's ready, I'll fade that in. So I'm just bringing it notch into Resolume as a source. Another way to do it is with blocks. So you could do blocks through Touch Designer. You could do blocks through Resolume now, like an FFGL. There's an FFGL plugin for Resolume where you can export a notch block directly into Resolume and have it render natively in Resolume. You have to have your dongle, and you have to also, unfortunately, be paying for Pro. So, I mean, that's one benefit, I guess, also of running Builder is you don't necessarily have to pay for Pro, and you get a little bit more control. But your frame rates might not be, you might not be getting 80 FPS on your scenes anymore. You might be getting 30 to 60. So you got to be mindful of that.
I think it's also like, just to interject here, because I don't use Notch Live anymore, but I definitely did for many years. But I still use Touch Designer and Unreal. I think that it's really a preference, and it's also one of the main reasons that I strew away from Notch, because I felt like the beauty that I love about Touch Designer is that the node graph is made to run live. Like, yeah, you can put Touch Designer in performance mode, but if you add nodes onto Touch Designer or connect things, it doesn't stall. Notch has this like annoying thing where you kind of, every time you add a node or explore, then there's like the stutter. And when I was first playing with Notch, I didn't care because it was like, it doesn't matter. I'm getting benefit from being able to explore and experiment live, that the little stutters are like, people will deal with it. And maybe Psytrance like allowed me to do that because the music is kind of hectic. But that's what kind of like, I didn't, and yeah, like Steven said, you can expose all the parameters you're gonna do in standalone, but then you're stuck with hundreds of parameters, and you don't use half of them. And it's really the exploratory thing of like, I have an idea and I want to try it out. How do I, get back into the node graph? So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can have the networking. You can have node graph and then run into standalone. But really, like, I think for what I advise people when they're getting into real time is just run it the way that you run it when you're playing with it at home, and get like a little bit good at like right now Steven's pausing, right? Like, don't pause, but get good at like adding nodes quickly. Get good at find the different things that don't stall it when you do it. Stall it, add nodes when the drop hits or something like that. That's what I would always do with Notch.
And then also too, you can like basically what I to mitigate that. That's another reason I have Resolume there as well. Like you can always switch to something else while you're
definitely have a backup. I think what I ended up doing like towards the last 2 years of me using Notch was I ran blocks in Touch Designer. So I would have my main server running Touch Designer patch with blocks, notch blocks. So each notch block was a layer, so I could fade between like 2 layers and the computer didn't like stall. And then I would have on my laptop, I would have access to the node graph through Builder, like networking tools. This is already a long time ago, and it was expensive. Don't get me wrong. Like, I had to have 2 licenses, but for me, that was kind of like the ultimate show goal, because then if I needed to change something on the fly, I could. But then if I, wanted to have the flexibility of like a smooth running patch, I could as well.
Totally.
And I always had Resolume running in the background as a backup, which I even today I don't, just
Probably
because
today,
I have.
Still do. Oh, you don't anymore. You all touch
don't
now?
anymore. All touch. I'll have a few clips loaded onto Touch in case like Unreal crashes or something. But to be honest, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
What will happen is I'll have like like the patch, like the Unreal thing will like, I don't know, there's like a bug or something, and I'll have to stop Unreal and then play Unreal again. That happens sometimes, but I don't have crashes very much at all.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
And I don't really have notch crashes either, which is nice. Resolume unfortunately
yeah,
crashes all the
right.
time. I feel like it's normally
Did you guys
a
hear this
power.
guy? This guy just said
Dude,
Notch doesn't crash.
it
What?
really doesn't that much, man. At least not live. I could making stuff. Sometimes I tend to go completely overboard, and I will get crashes making stuff. But now live, I tend not to.
You don't
I
push
err
it.
on the side of caution. Yeah,
That makes sense. That makes
totally.
sense.
Yeah, here's
Um,
a little MoGraph
this
thing. I'm
is
just
this is
using
sick.
some
Yeah,
tools.
we have a few more questions, but I would love to kind of talk about what you're doing right now. So let's focus on that. But yeah, please tell me. Give us a run through
So
of what you just built.
this is like my favorite deformer, right? This is the effector version of it for clones. But basically, I'm taking this gradient, this rainbow gradient, and I'm cycling it through. And what it's doing is it's like sequencing with like a clone index. Basically, how it's sequencing that gradient through this geo. So here's like a fractal noise, which gives like a really cool party vibe. Clone index is cool because you can take this source scale and you can kind of decide how you want that gradient to pass through the geo. So love that. This one's cool. There's just a lot. It's a really cool toy to play with because there's infinite gradients that you can make. You can go on color.adobe.com and just spend a day making like gradient bins that you can be shoving into this effector and just really do amazing things. A lot of what Taz does, and the kind of meat and potatoes in some of his crazy animation effects are, a lot of it centered around gradients and like the negative space between the colors and
Yeah.
and how that sequences through the geometry. It's really cool, and that's one thing I've learned by just kind of studying what he's doing is you can get a lot done on a texture color level,
Mm.
especially with a tool like Notch or Touch or Tool 3. You know,
Yeah. I mean, what is? It's just the gradients are key, right? That's kind of like what we were talking about before with the rainbow. It's like the rainbow is a gradient, but also like learning compound colors or tricolors is so important because like
yeah,
when you do like a compound color, everybody instantly not even notices, just your brain is happy, like
yeah,
because those complementary colors just work perfectly together. And it's the same for tris, it's the same for quads. Like if you can learn that color wheel well, then your ability to like please people with colors is almost built in. You know what I mean?
totally.
Like
Yeah,
I find that a lot.
no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the colors are going to control the mood. You know, I happen to choose all of them, but it's not always the case. Some, you just got to force the mood of all the colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they may not think that they need all the colors, but you have to show them why. Make the animation cool enough, make the content cool enough, and burn their eyeballs out. My, that's what I like to do.
I think this is a good time to show off a little bit of um, the scene that Steven created for us here. So I guess it's a Rem and Glass Crane collab, but we
Definitely
have
a collab.
a definitely collab. We have this amazing sculpt by Glass Crane. I did some texturing, pretty fast, but it looks cool. And yeah, it's just it's fun to like you know I don't I really I mean this when I say it, but like you're so fascinating in your artist kind of like trajectory because you really come from this like almost classic classic maybe like the right word, but you almost come from this like classic 3D sculpting world, texturing world, octane world, um but you're like shifting so hard into like a different realm with the real time stuff. And I guess another a question that I really wanted to ask was it like a weird thing for you to go from like sculpting and like focusing so hard on like making something look perfect and like lighting and all that kind of stuff to then into like a completely explorative experimental world that real time is?
I wouldn't say it was hard, just because I think Notch. Well, I started messing around with Blender a little bit after cinema. That was like my first, like Octane was my first introduction to any sort of node node usage whatsoever, which that's just material nodes, right? So I didn't, it got me into the swing of, just using nodes, and then I tried out Blender. You know, wasn't super. I didn't feel that geometry nodes were very intuitive. They're very powerful, but I didn't see myself finding a good flow with them.
Unless you're mind
And
blown.
then Keith Fractal Visions, shouts to the man.
Who's that?
Um, yeah, right. um, he showed me Notch, and he told me to get the learner dongle, and I did, and then it sat on on my desk for like a year or two, and then once I finally had the time to bust it out, I was just like, dude, why didn't you like hassle me harder to do this? Yeah, it was like
Interesting.
So to answer your question, for me, real time is kind of like growing wings in a lot of ways, because it's like I had always kind of had that issue where all of my work, I tried to make it as high fidelity and crazy as possible, but I had to really focus on the sculpting and stuff like that, and it was just a very slow process. I do enjoy it, and I still do some of that even now, but ultimately, a lot of the ideas that I wanted to get out, didn't need to come with that level of effort, to some degree, if that, like, to put it lightly, I guess. So when I found Notch, it was just like, I'm finally, it helped me become a better animator, because I were really super great with keyframes. I always kind of settled a lot because
Really?
I would miss something. I would miss something in a render, and all of a sudden, this thing's been rendering for 18 hours.
Right.
Boom,
Right.
it comes out. Man, I wish I could have changed this, or wish I could have changed that, but you can't see because, Octane looks like, I don't even know, like the the pay-per-view Girls Gone Wild from back in the day. It's just static. So it's like, that's why I like the real-time kind of feedback, and it made me a better animator as a result. It allowed me to explore more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the particles that you added here. It's super cool.
Yeah, those are cool
Um,
parts.
we also had another question from Aaron. Is there an artist, event, or venue you haven't worked with yet that you really would like to?
Artist, event, venue. Honestly, people laugh when I say this, but like, I really want to VJ for metal bands. I've done a lot of work for a couple really heavy, awesome technical metal bands that I was interested in, like Born of Osiris and a couple others. But yeah, like, my dream client would be like Meshuggah or Tool or something like that. Would be really dope.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Me and Andre Jones were talking the other day on how we'd really love to B2B Slipknot. You know,
Hell yeah.
so if anyone's watching and knows those dudes, just let them know. We'll make it happen.
And then we have another question from Luke from Mind Balloon. Where do you get your inspiration from? Which we kind of covered, but be nice to hear it again from you.
Yeah. You and you, others. I love just kind of tooling around on Instagram and on Discord, seeing what everyone's doing. And, a lot of times I'll hop on Discord or Instagram, I'll see something like that, and it just gives me an idea that's completely different, even. It's just like, oh, wait, you can do something like that. How could this be integrated in maybe a previous idea I've had? Yeah, totally.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm inspired by you too.
And
Even though you use Notch.
Yep.
And obviously what? Sorry, I missed that. What do you say?
Yeah, Rem Visuals, Mind Balloon as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm making here really, but it's Gerbley.
All right, come on. We want to hear some questions from you.
Yeah.
This is from we didn't get it yet, but from Digital Introspect. The person that doesn't stop talking, all of a sudden he has an option to talk, and we don't hear him talking. What's going on?
Yep. Yeah, what's going on, man? Wait, can you like talk in here?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
That would be good though. That'd be cool to do. Yeah, for sure.
Take like callers like the Tom Green show and just get
exactly. Take callers. That was fun. Yeah.
People would ruin us. You fucking
Okay,
nerds.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking, Michael. Relax. I'm just joking. I mean, Dean, you talk just as much as everybody. You're a great talker. I want to hear some of your questions. You have great insight. He's getting all offended now.
Get offended. Yeah, what's up? I'm just gonna keep dicking around with this while you guys do that.
Yeah, I think keep on dicking around with that. I think in the next 5-10 minutes we'll shift to the second portion.
Sweet.
Get some more Q and A's
what are we doing? Oh, yeah. What's the second portion? What do we got on the agenda?
Just the normal visual cast. I'm gonna ask you about your spirituality and crystals, and why do you boof your drugs instead of taking them orally?
I use crystals primarily as deodorant.
That's why you smell so good, huh?
Yeah, makes great deodorant. Oh man, 1.0 is this thing where if you like plug a map into a material, it just freezes for 4 seconds. Totally get.
So that's the thing is like the old notch. The old notch was like already pretty hard to use for real time, like the node graph.
Yeah, this is
the new one's even harder, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to have your shit dialed in no matter what. But I mean, 1.0 just looks so good, and there's so many, like just endless, insane, awesome MoGraph deformers. That's one thing. Yeah, like that mapping to the bit. Yeah, I mean, I can't rave about it enough. It's really dope. I just wish, hopefully, they go gold with it here pretty soon and get it to the point where it can flow a little better.
What's that transparent thing there? Is that?
Oh, that's my range, I think. Yeah, it's just I'm using a mapping node, so that's the texture range. Yeah, I'm just like adding this like kind of greebly texture. Throw that in normals real quick.
Any tips on someone wanting to learn ZBrush? That's a good question.
ZBrush. Hey, that's one we should have had that.
Light Shift. Yeah, ZBrush.
Oh. Yeah, totally. So Ask ZBrush is awesome. That's Joseph Druss series where it's like 2-minute, rapid fire questions that people send him, and he's really good at explaining them. And then also Michael Pavlovich is the guy I pretty much learned everything from. So just, the short answer, YouTube University, you can do this. It's probably one of the more difficult programs I've learned. And the reason why is just because the UI is just kind of foreign and alien. And it still is, honestly. I've been using it for a long time. It doesn't really get much easier. But you got to treat ZBrush as not like a thing where you necessarily need to get in there and master every single function of what it does. It's kind of, I kind of look at it like Touch Designer a little bit, where, it's instead of trying to broad stroke something, really just get in there and learn case by case for the, for what you need to do. I found that that's probably the best way to do it. And you're the homie, so obviously ask me anytime you want. I'll be around. Zenon, he's
I was
really
gonna say, there's a lot of people that are like really good at it.
Totally.
And most of the people that are really good at it are also like really into sharing and imparting information. So definitely
ZBrush is a cool one because there's not a whole lot of us, so usually everyone gets pretty excited to share ZBrush stuff and to collaborate with someone else. Look at this, check out this smart tracer, Alon.
What is it? Let me see.
This smart tracer, it's like my favorite neuro renderer. Here, let me make this bigger. Oh my god, these panels.
Yeah, the new Notch has like all these new rendering types, huh?
Yeah, this is, so see this? I'm getting like 5 FPS, right?
Right.
But let me
look at those
like
nice reflections.
The magic of this. So if I go into Smart Tracer, let's go to Refine Steps 1. Let's just do 1 refine step, and then I'll render this. I'll show you how cracked this is. So let's do like 20 seconds.
There used to be in the old Notch, there was like a denoiser that you could run. That was a temporal denoiser, and some scenes would work so well with it, and some scenes would just look like garbage. But then there was like these moments where you're like, oh, I'm ray trace. I'm like almost path tracing real time. But that was like 6 years ago. Now it's like Unreal does that, for breakfast. So it's just, but it's interesting that they did have that early on, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, they definitely did. They're definitely making strides as far as like this smart tracer is crazy because of what it is. It's an
just fast.
accelerated path tracer. Yeah, so it has all the bells and whistles of path tracer. The good GI.
Yeah.
Emissives.
Refraction.
Great ambient occlusion. Yeah, refraction, glass, full glass. So and also.
But what does it do? It's just denoising it while it's going through it.
I really couldn't tell you, man.
Right. It just looks good.
Couldn't tell you. It just looks freaking great. But look at this frame.
Yeah,
and
pretty fast.
It's like a traced render. I mean, you can see the reflections. You can see all the balls in here, like the little orbs reflecting.
It's not very noisy.
It's not like it looks noisier here than it looks in the render.
Yeah.
In the final render, and if
but
there's
it's not so
any
noisy
noise at all, which there usually isn't a lot, run this 2 seconds through Topaz, and that's a wrap.
For sure.
As far as like a render goes, and I'll actually throw this in the VJ folder too for anyone who stepped in.
Fuck yeah.
I'll do a longer one. This is like a 20-second. I just wanted to show you the render and how good it looks for how little time, But what I was about to touch on something else. I forget what it was. Must not have been important.
The neural renderers, or was you were past that?
Yeah,
before that?
Yeah, we were talking about the.
Oh, the denoiser back in the day in the notch in the old.
Oh
notch.
yeah. No, it's they're from the get go. They're always trying to try to give us what we want, which is the best quality real time as possible, in like a package like this. Obviously like Unreal is crazy. Like that's gonna be the best looking real time I can imagine, but. For me, and I've actually been using a fair bit of Unreal lately with this Royalston project, and I've been really enjoying it. It's just, it goes deep, man. You're a gem for that.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna get on board the Unreal train, not just for rendering and like staging, you better be in, all the way in, because it's dense. I'm like 6 or almost 7 years in, and I still like run into fucking, it's sick. That's really good, huh? Super fast. Yeah, really nice.
It's good to go. Like I would say, so I did one refine pass. I would probably throw like 5 or 10 on it, and this is a 20-second clip right here. Usually my clips are like a minute, 2 minutes long sometimes. And thanks Singer for that. But yeah, something like this, I think with like 5 refine passes and like a minute long would probably take 20 minutes to render. And then you have zero noise whatsoever, but I would just run this through Topaz.
No, but also at that point it's like you're getting something so fast, you like it, you send it overnight.
Right.
It's kind of what I've always been doing with Unreal is like I just render it out.
Crank it. Give it as many samples as you can stomach.
I render it out as is, like just with the default settings from the media coder, and it's basically real time. And then if I like it, then I'll start putting the iterations in, and then like let it run. But
totally.
but rendering's passe. I mean, come on, we're not rendering anymore. Let's not render. Rendering's like,
we don't need to render.
Come on.
Your time's too valuable for that.
Yeah.
Too valuable.
I shared in the chat the link for the pack. I'm just talking to Darkitators.
Yeah, and
but I'll share it again.
It's some older stuff. I didn't have a whole lot of time to put a pack together. Just been kind of busy, so I'm gonna leave that link open. I might end up, throwing a couple sneaky extras in there, some newer stuff. So there's definitely some older stuff in there. There's some Unreal stuff. But yeah, it seems pretty decent.
We got another question from Aaron. You mentioned Topaz. Have you found any other reasonable ways to plug AI into your workflows? It's a great question.
Yeah, great question. So I totally use the hell out of ChatGPT for, like ideating. I get like coming up with ideas, trying to explain something like, um,
Rubber
you know,
ducking.
yeah, like I have a couple like GPTs trained on different like aspects that I deal with. Like, one's for, the more professional work stuff that I'm doing, where, I tend to feed it lots of emails and responses, and it helps me like respond to different things. But for art, like I guess the main way I use it that can be shown in my art would be to get logo ideas. I do a lot of logo designs.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
and what I'll do is, I'll usually get like a basis, and I'll run that through, honestly, just chat GPT, just like, hey, give me like a cyberpunk version of this. Give me
Mm,
and just, usually it'll just give me ideas. The quality is never really there, especially not for a logo,
mm,
to actually utilize the imagery directly. But what it'll do is, say it does a cool cut in this letter, or it makes this you know thing interact with the other thing that I wouldn't have thought of, and then
right.
I'll just rebuild that in Photoshop or whatever, or in Illustrator.
Like a
So
really good,
it's like,
um, a really good like a bouncing platform, right? Like what's that word? There's a word for that. Like a really good starting point, right?
yeah, totally.
Like almost like instead of making a mood board from like Google Images, you're making a mood board from a GPT, which in
Right,
reality is the
right, right,
same thing
exactly.
because it's going through your Google search to find the. We don't have to get into the AI conversation, but yeah, I mean I think that's really a really good place to use it, Stephen. Like
Totally.
like coming up with ideas and throwing things at it. I should say for myself, like I use AI pretty much every day just to help me code. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I also am making plugins, but even if I wasn't, like being able to like fastly come up with Python ideas for Touch Designer has
Hmm.
immensely saved me time, made things
Oh
better,
yeah. Yeah, and
and it's like the
especially
way that
using
I've
stuff in Python, crazy.
yeah, it's just so built into it. And it just also helps me learn to code. Like I wouldn't call myself a coder, maybe like like a interior level, but like I'm building plugins and I'm scripting things, and it's like I'm learning as I'm doing it. So hopefully in a few years I will be able to code.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't even need
No,
to code by
totally,
then. Who knows? But
totally, totally.
ooh, okay, we got a question from Matthew. Very technical question. He
Oh
always
yeah.
asks technical questions, Matthew. Why such a technical
You
question
just said
asker?
testicle questions.
He's a technical question asker. What is
All
the
right, what we
best
got?
settings for Topaz to simply clean up a noisy render? Is there a go-to for that?
Um,
Great
I
question.
think so they're like, they change things all the time. There's always like new models that they're bringing in. Let me crack it open real quick. Um, I think it was the Apollo kernel thing. Here, I'm just gonna bring this guy in that we just did. So the what am I doing? Sierra, codec settings. I think it's the Apollo one. This is Hyperion. That's SDR to HDR.
Are you
So that's for
I don't
slow
know,
motion. So I use Topaz a lot to slow things
but
down.
did you
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you are you sharing your screen or just Notch?
Oh, whoops.
Oh, we don't see it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
There we
no,
go.
it was on my main screen. Sorry about that.
Good.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure Apollo is the one I've been using, and it does fine. Chronos is decent. I haven't really, I kind of just throw it in there. I mean, I haven't really messed with this stuff too much. Like I said, a lot of it is just slowing stuff down, or like a slight denoising.
Mm.
You
Adding
know,
frames, like making it 60 kind of thing.
yeah, like if I'm in a crunch, and I render out something in path tracing, I'll do it at 30 FPS. And we could do it smaller too, and just upscale it. But yeah, I usually use Apollo, to be honest.
Mm.
Hit up Architect. He's gonna have a better answer for you. Usually, I ask him, "Hey, what should I do for this?" and he tells me so.
If only he would come on the podcast.
If only, if
If
only,
only.
Mr.
So,
Cowboy.
uh,
We'll get him. We'll get him.
we'll get him. We'll get him.
We'll get him.
Matthew says, same. I most use it to slow and add frames. I was curious if there was a model just for denoising. Thank you. I don't think I even have Apollo as an option. Mine license is at least a year old. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had models. I have a free version. You can read into that whatever you want, but I have it for free. Um, but I don't think that the version that I have doesn't have any models. It just has the one.
Oh,
I
you got
guess
the, is it like one of the original ones
it's
or something?
free. You know what I mean?
Free.
I don't
Yeah.
pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Free version.
It's free version.
Free version.
Um, yeah, I just don't use it enough to like sanction myself paying for it.
Right.
Um, all right, awesome. I mean, is there? You're opening up one more thing. We,
I'm
oh,
just like,
cool.
yeah, I'm just kind of looking around. But yeah, we're chilling.
That's sick. That's sick. I love this. What is this? Break this down, please. This is sick.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a whirly noise. This is like a new
Oh.
fractal noise setting that I begged them for, and I totally take credit for it because here's them 4/5 Manhattan. Yeah, just this is just a plane, plane with some displacement. You got the you see that going on. And just a light, just kind of simple, nothing crazy going on in this one. Yes, seeing what else I had in here. Did I lose you?
Super cool.
Oh,
I mean, no, you're here. I'm just a little bit impressed. I'm not. Well, you know, it's just cool. I like the way it looks. Like it just has like
yeah,
this kind of organic feeling to it that I really like.
nothing functions.
Nice.
Just like I think we did me and John did a like a promo video for Secret Dreams.
Wait, Steven, can you go back to that one that we were on before?
This
I
last one?
didn't get. Yeah, I didn't get the full rundown of it. So it's just a plane.
Oh yeah, no, it's just a plane with a
Oh,
fractal
with like
noise going
subdevice.
into this map. Yeah, so this guy,
Oh wow.
kind of hard to see, but yeah, I'm like thresholding it through,
Gotcha. So you're just
and
getting the really
yeah,
fine lines.
yeah, so I get the really fine line, so it's kind of bright.
Interesting.
And then yeah, the rest is just kind of just texture. I just have like a like this little dot grid thing.
Love it.
Yeah, and
Okay, I didn't
then
realize. I didn't realize that. I guess
the color is just a light, just like one light, I think. Yeah,
it's
just one
off.
light.
It's so often that like the simple things are the coolest things. You know. I just
Yeah,
love it.
well, that's what a lot of what I do is, if I get booked last minute for something or whatever, I try to make as much new content as possible, and that's why I love using Notch, because you can kind of just throw a plane in, find a cool texture or
Texture.
whatever, and just turn it into something dope that
Totally.
you'd be surprised that people would remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Are you
fun.
when you're doing your shows today? Like, are you? I know maybe we talked about this already, but I just to clarify, like when you
Mhm.
are getting a show and you're doing a show and you're running a notch, are you rendering those all those out? Like you're playing around, messing around, you render, or are you playing around, messing around, and then you make it a patch?
Yeah, I mean, so this is, if I'm working in 1.0, I'm always rendering. I haven't switched
Okay,
my live show
gotcha,
over
gotcha,
to
gotcha.
yeah. So like this is all 1.0 stuff. I'm rendering all of this.
Mm,
Aside from the iMag, I can totally run those as blocks.
mm-hmm.
But now usually I'm working in Legacy because I'm doing actual work that I need to use for a show or
Real time,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm always rendering stuff. That's why I've been, it's kind of my I wasn't gonna immediately switch to 1.0. Keith
Mm-hmm.
already moved
Who?
over his entire composition. Um, I think he moved his whole show over, and it took a bit of a headache. And I'll do that eventually, but ultimately I'm having fun just building the real time stuff in Legacy, and then still keeping up with new rendered content as well.
Nice.
I
The
like to
best
release
best of both
feedback.
worlds, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it enables me to do things like release content packs and stuff.
Right, right. Also, like Keith has been using Notch for a long time already. Like, I
Oh yeah.
think you'd probably want to learn Notch in Legacy, or maybe not. I don't know. Actually, maybe not.
I don't know, man. I would say now you'd probably want
It
to learn
doesn't.
in 1.0. Just
You
yeah,
would.
because
You would. It's stable enough at this point.
Yeah, it's absolutely stable enough. The UI is definitely a bit heavier, but it's also
Right.
awesome. Like the functionality of this UI now, and like how the nodes work, how the node graph works. It's really impressive and just a joy to use. It's just a little clunky still, but
Right.
it'll get there. I think they
Right.
definitely they're aware of everything. Um,
Cool.
so
All right. Well, thank you so much for that awesome look at your work. It's always such a pleasure to see, into the mind of anybody, but especially you, of Glass Crane, exactly. Yeah, I kind of, we're if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them. And I did want to kind of like go into a little bit more of an esoteric side here. We can start off with, this kind of fun animation overview of the awesome sculpt that Steven did. Um, yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of your work invokes this kind of feeling. I don't really know how to put like the right word in it. I don't think it's like necessarily quote unquote, and this is like it's not like a dig or anything, but I don't think it's necessarily quote unquote spiritual in that sense. But there's like an ethereal vibe in your work. Whether it's the woman
yeah,
that you use and like the colors, the ambient occlusion, the very like kind of white feeling of everything, that very clean kind of feeling. Yeah, where does that come from? Like, what is like the catalyst of that? What kind of drives that kind of thing for you?
yeah. I mean, obviously, psychedelics play a huge part of it. Haven't been able to dabble too much. It's been a little busy lately. But yeah, no, I mean, I try to get on the screen some of the things that I see, or at least artistic representations of those things. Um, and then also, just like kind of looking. A lot of it's experimenting with color, right? Like the
Mm.
original. Let me see if I can bring the original up here of this one, because this is just as I sent you the bear sculpt, which
Yeah.
is cool. Like that's one thing I've been enjoying lately is kind of going back through my library of different sculpts over the years and stuff, and just kind of reimagining them in different ways. Just because I haven't been really supercharged or inspired to do a whole lot of sculpting lately, just because I've been really interested in getting my animation chops up and just getting
Real
faster.
time.
Yeah, getting faster real time. So it's like it's cool. It kind of happened at a good time because I was able to. Here we go. Here's like the original. um, oh, I don't know if you might have to switch to the screen
Yeah.
cap for them
Yeah.
to see it.
I'm
But
done.
yeah, no, like
Nice.
it's a lot of this. Like the original for this was experimenting with color
Mm.
and
Beautiful.
texture, and it's kind of an older piece. So I think if I were to reattack this with the kind of same idea in mind, color wise and render and lighting and all that, I think I could probably nail that a little harder the next time around. But I've actually used this model for a couple clips moving forward after this.
Really.
Um, just like I've done like a cool wireframe of it, and I guess that's kind of like my motivation to continue with some of these is since I'm not super motivated currently to just do these crazy sculpts anymore. Doesn't mean I won't again. It's just I kind of want to give each one their fair shake as far as coming up with some new ideas and ways to incorporate them. That's like a big thing that I like to do is you know kind of bringing people back into something they've potentially seen before. You know,
Mm.
uh, that's like a huge part of how I get like satisfaction out of things is being able to give people you know they they swear they saw that thing before or saw me post it or whatever, and now they see it in a whole new light.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it allows me to experiment with it and to work with it almost as a brand new asset and kind of
Mm.
reimagine what it was like to create it to begin with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of like the. We spoke about this, I think, on the last podcast, but the that I can't remember what chrysanthemum, I think, is what Singer calls it, but you know,
Yeah,
it's kind of like that
the
that
sample.
theater,
Yeah.
that theater or that, you know, DMT space that is kind of like, you know, synonymous with psychedelic visually visuals.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of I you know I wanted to like the ethereal aspect of what you managed to do is kind of different in that sense. You know, yeah, it's psychedelic for sure, and like there's definitely like drawings from that world, but you managed to like make it clean in a way that's like more, I don't know, more like approachable maybe. You know, like did you ever think about that? Is that just like it's just natural for you, I guess?
I mean, yeah, I get like I do think about it. Wait, hold on one second. I just lost my VDO. It's on like a different.
Oh, oh, we lost Steven there for a second. This is fun live. I actually have to like do things. I can't just like wait around for him to come back and edit it out, which is cool. Which is cool. I don't mind. I could juggle. No, I can't juggle actually. We could look at that cool animation again. I was really happy with this animation. You know, it's like a fun real time one. I think next time I want to actually like have a little bit more control and maybe like make it more, you know, like moving it around with a mouse or keyboard or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, like this is like the plan now. Every time we do a live stream is like to change the environment, get the artist who's the guest to like help us build an environment, build new frames, and like change it up every time. I am thinking, I don't know what you guys think about this. I am thinking about leaving like this as the theme now for the next 4 episodes, but I also don't know how it's gonna like actually translate to like the next guest. So I don't know if it's actually a good idea. But we'll see. And then I also made this cool thing that we didn't have a chance to show, but it's like this thing that like follows my head. I was gonna use it like if I talk too much, and you know people want me to stop talking, they can just like say stop talking alone. But I didn't put it in. But I thought it was cool. You know, it kind of has like follows my head around. This is MediaPipe, by the way, running on my laptop. So it's like MediaPipe is awesome. Just takes, you know, any camera feed and basically makes it into, you know, tracking, hand tracking, body tracking, head tracking. This has a whole like face tracking thing, but I'm just using it for positional. Um, don't forget the lasers, dude. I you know I had laser eyes that I made for this as well, like you know for a moment, and it looked so cool, but um, but I didn't finish the controls to turn it on and off, so I just took it out. But next time, next live stream, we'll have the laser eyes, and it looks so cool. Um, who doesn't want laser eyes? You know, I mean, laser eyes are just awesome. Um, anyway, until Steven comes back, we are still here, which is cool. Some of you can hear me for some reason. Let me see, what is Steven saying? Oh, he's back. Okay, let me get his feeds back in here. 1 second. Yeah, also I want to use this opportunity to like really thank everybody that's here. You know, it's not like about the money, obviously. You know, I really made the transactional aspect of it for you. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's like I know for myself that if I spend like $1 on something, I'm gonna be more like akin to go to it and like take it into like more serious. So that was kind of like my idea for that. It also definitely helps support. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, $1 is $1 and it adds up. But I am probably going to maybe shift into like a more Patreon kind of thing in the future. But right now I'm trying to gauge the YouTube algorithm and hoping that if I have more members, then that favors the algorithm in some way. But time will tell, so I don't know yet. But yeah, again, I just really appreciate it. You know, it means so much to me, and I hope that through this transactional thing, I can bring more and more cool stuff to the podcast for sure. Where are you, Steven? Where'd you go, bud? Oh, he's still figuring out his thing. I'll answer for Steven, the best and worst gig experience ever. My worst experience was in India. I could say the name of the gig. I think I've spoken about it before. In Hilltop, Goa. I had the worst experience ever. I was so excited to be in India, but also like this is like one of the premier psytrance festivals, and I fucked up so bad. Well, it wasn't necessarily my fault, but it was like I kind of came very gung ho and ready for like I'm gonna take over India, and I didn't properly realize what the culture and all those aspects are, how important that is. I also It's also not my fault because the person who booked me didn't really tell me all the information about what was going on, and then I kind of took somebody else's work even though I had no idea about it. So he was upset at me, and there was this whole drama around it. But anyway, one night, it was 2 nights, it was 3 nights. The second night, the first night went well. I thought it was cool. Everybody was like kind of happy with it. I was like, okay, this is gonna get better. Second night, I don't know what happened, but I completely like one of the projectors went down. It was raining. One of the projectors went down, so it was only one projector, and it's like two projectors on a stage. One went down. People came, like 30 Indians coming to like fix the projector, but then the promoter came to me and started yelling at me, telling me like, "What the hell? Why is the projector down?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have nothing to do with the projector." So that already kind of shifted my energy, and then when they brought back the projector, the mapping was all off, and I didn't map the stage. It doesn't matter, but I didn't map the stage, so I couldn't like fix the mapping. So then I played like 4 more hours with like two projectors. Like one was like shifted down. It just looked like shit basically. And by the end of the gig, it was all my fault. And there's nothing that I could do about it. And I was kind of like, it was very, very uncomfortable. And yeah, it was so bad that they asked me not to play the last night. It was that bad. So it was a mixture of my gung-ho-ness and also like just, not my fault at all. And then my best gig, definitely Modem, 2017, the second Modem I did, or I think maybe the third. That was my favorite Modem that I did. It was just perfect. Everything was so good. It was Notch, and it was just like the first time that it like everything melded so well, and I was just like in a constant high. Okay, so Glass Crane, you hear me in the video. That's good. And I don't know why I can't get your I see your thing here. It's not going into Touch Designer for some reason. Let me just try and use a new node. That sometimes works. Let me try this one. Oh, there we go. We got you.
Hey, what up? Cool. Can you hear me too?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I just was answering a question that was asked to you, but your best and worst gig that you can remember. You don't have to name names if you don't want to. I did.
Best and worst gig. Oh man, I would say I'll start with worst gig is the one that I couldn't play because the upstairs of the venue was where the front of house was, and that floor was in the midst of collapsing. So me and my team kind of got there, went up, checked it out. We're like,
oh my
nah,
God.
definitely not playing here.
Oh my
Couldn't
God.
do it. Yeah, they couldn't set us up anywhere else, and there's no floor room, so we had to. I think it was on the Ultra Sloth tour or something. Pretty sure. Yeah, we had to ixnay on that one. Best gig, can't even. I don't know. I can't even choose.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, it's hard. I definitely these Spango gigs. That
Nice.
Detox one at Resonate was definitely something crazy. Yeah, no, definitely. I'd a couple of tipper, but I was always too nervous to super enjoy them anyways.
Totally.
Yeah.
Those are the funny ones, right? Like the ones that you're like, those are like your dream gigs, and you're like, when I reach this, I'm done. And then you get there,
like, how much can I
and you're
fuck
like,
up? Yeah.
was it good? I didn't like. It might have been good, but I didn't enjoy myself at all. The pressure was so high. So
Totally.
funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely that Detox set.
What was that? Was that recently? That was the recent one.
Yeah, the one at Resonate.
Yeah, those look so
the
cool.
best Detox unit set I've ever heard, and a lot of people said they really dug the visual accompaniment too. It's always great working with Singer though. He's the best. He's like a living butter button. Like send your artwork through him, and he's just gonna make it so great on the other side.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always. I remember the first time I played with Tass. Like this was like an ego thing, right? Like where it's like when you collab or when you do a versus set, there's always one person who you're going into, and usually
Right.
that person that you're going into kind of has control of your output. So like my first, I don't know, 5 years of VJing, I was working with a mentor, and he was like way more experienced than me, Dorian Master Damus, and I would
Yeah.
always go through him, and but he was always fuck up my feed, and it made this like thing in my head of like, if I go through somebody, they're gonna fuck up my feed. If I go through
Right.
somebody,
Right. Right.
you know, because like years of just doing it. So then when I played with Taz for the first time, he fucked up my feed, but he fucked it up so well that it made everything look
Yeah.
so good, you know, because he like
Right.
instantly put in like a color, like a color wash over everything, and I'm like, but then you can't see all the shadows and all the details, and it's like, but wait,
Right. Right.
like
But it
he's
works.
mixing it into his stuff. It works so
You're
well.
getting,
Like,
you're
why am I
getting
even?
calls left and right from
Yeah,
promoters like, bro,
exactly.
well,
Yo, your
no,
stuff
it's
looks
like
so good.
with Singer, we just used that mixer he's got, so we both,
Nice.
neither of us were necessarily in control of the other, but just, that mixer's just got the like the butter fader on it, and just the blend
Nice.
mode just looks so good.
Yeah, you're getting a shout out
I've
about the
definitely been
mixing.
enjoying using a mixer. Like that's kind of my new thing. It's
The
really
Roland one.
really
You have the
nice.
Roland one.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm not sure exactly which
The
one he has,
VH
but like
one, I
we
think.
used like an HM at Spangle, and that was great too.
Nice.
Yeah, no, they're really good.
I mean, anytime I do anytime I'm like managing like a front of house or mapping or whatever, I always build a like a touch designer mixer. So you can
Yeah,
get,
yep.
multiple feeds and then mix between them, so it's not like you're not going into somebody. Because it does make a
Yeah.
big difference.
Cool. And one thing I employed at the Capitol Theater show is I actually my live setup is 3 laptops now, so I bring my MacBook. I have like an M2 Pro MacBook Pro, and I just put Resolume on that, and I take in all the feeds into that, and then I also have like a small library of clips on that too. So I'm sick of like not having the right power. That's always an issue.
Right.
Had that issue recently at a couple different shows where if your laptop's not getting enough power, it'll still say it's charging, but like I'll look down and my laptop will be at like 92%, but it's been
Mm.
plugged in for 2 hours. So and then all of a sudden I'm getting frame stuttering issues, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Resolume will crash. Like especially like if you have like a transport slider up a little bit, like, and you're using 4K content in Resolume, if you click to a new clip, you have to wait till that transport finishes.
Comes back.
Your screen essentially locks up while it does that. So if you accidentally
Mm.
click, this is, I think it's like kind of a new issue with 7. 7's been pretty buggy,
Mm.
but I would just completely crash, and then Resolume was taking in my notch. So basically my entire show would go down if that happened. And, once I started bringing my MacBook, I have everything going into that. The power
Mm.
could go out, and that MacBook will still keep that show running.
Killer. Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, having a redundant system, it's not always easy because we're kind of like we don't get paid enough to have redundant systems, but it's so
Yeah.
important to have something, even if it's like a cheap laptop that's just going in with some loops or something. Like
Yep.
every festival, pretty much every festival I've ever worked at, the media server that's piping everything in has a few clips that are
Has
just
something.
accessible.
Yeah.
So that if
Yeah, you
something
have
all
no idea
crashes, whatever.
how many times I ran without that and just had to take the 4 or 5 minutes, get everything back up.
Black.
And eventually I was like, wait a second, I bring this MacBook with me everywhere anyways
Right.
for
Just plug it in.
emails and whatnot. Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? And it's rock solid. I think
Yeah.
I think I'm probably gonna switch to Mac for Resolume.
Oh no! Oh no!
Just for Resolume.
Oh no! Okay, that's
So nice.
we're gonna end.
And
We're
touch,
gonna end the stream. We're gonna end the stream here.
Resolume and Touch Designer. Touch Designer runs so well on this thing.
It does run nicely on a Mac, huh? Like the Vulkan
Yeah.
is just so
Oh, God.
super nice.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been going for about an hour, almost 2 hours. So
Cool.
we kind of wanted to keep this under an hour and a half, but I'm happy that we managed to get this far. If there's any other questions, please ask them now, but we're probably going to end here. I'm not gonna get emotional, but I really appreciate you doing this, Steven, and
Of course. I appreciate
you
you
guys
doing
for
it.
coming on here. The 8 to 10 souls that came in here and took the time to follow us and be with us. you know, I just love you all so much. Oh, Jesse just joined. Hell yeah. Why does Glass Crane like milk so much? That is a good question.
Bro, you joined now. I've been talking about you this whole stream, bro.
Yeah, we talked about you, and he's been drinking milk the whole time. We've been milking it out.
Yeah, I'm chugging milk. Milk does a
But
body
yeah,
good, Jesse. All right.
it's how you get big fingers to move all those knobs. What was the name of that? What was that name of that label that you're trying to start again? It's a
Ether Immersive. I put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yep. Right as of right now, Ether Immersive is a collaborative dome project between me and Plans Visuals. We own a couple. We have a 40-foot and a 23-foot projection dome. You know, you can't see the bars on the inside. It's like a mobile planetarium.
Nice.
And that's kind of what it started as, and now we're starting to kind of see some ways that we can help out in other areas, you know. So
it's coming. It's coming to a VJ show near you. I would I'll let me just say the last things, and then please feel free to sign us off, Stephen. But all the people that are in here, really, I can't thank you guys enough. It means so much. What really will help kind of like get these things going is, first of all, I hope you guys come to the next one, which will be next month, probably second week of June, somewhere around there. I'll announce the guest in due time, but it's a good one. I would really help is if you guys leave us like feedback or reviews, or just post to tell people that they should join next time. Like buzz, you know, that really helps things is people like wanting to be at these things. You know, and also people that can't join, the episode's going to be available tomorrow. So they can't interact, but they get to enjoy the content as well. So yeah, anything that you guys could do to share and get people involved is awesome. And I really hope that by next one, or maybe in the third one, July sometime, I have a little bit of a busy schedule, but at some point I'll open up a Discord. We'll open up a more communicative kind of thing that we can go back and forth and have more of a bigger community. But it will start with you guys. So you guys will all have access to that first and foremost. Yeah, I just really appreciate it super, super, super much. Stephen, can you share that link one more time in the chat for anybody that didn't get it?
Which one? The drive link?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll drop that in. Let me grab it real quick. It's gonna take me a minute. Yeah, no, thank you so much, man. This is awesome. I really enjoyed the first one we did together, and I've enjoyed very many of the subsequent episodes after. I think you got a great format. Loving the new way you're doing things. This is really pretty groundbreaking stuff, especially in our little community. So thank you as well.
You're welcome, dude. Thank you as usual. Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. I'll leave the stream on for a little bit while Stephen posts that. Did you post that link? Sorry.
I'm looking for it. I had to dig for it initially, but yeah, I'm gonna drop it in there in about 2 minutes. Oh wait, I think this is it. I'm gonna drop it in there right now.
I'll definitely add.
I said, guys, I'm gonna stick a couple more in there, so just keep an eye on that link.
Cool.
There it is.
And Aaron, I'll definitely be adding more fun logo 3D stuff to that. I love that everything is a great one. That's a good one. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you guys all joining. Yeah, till next time. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.